All right, thank you, Regina. Welcome to another Marketing Experiments Web Clinic. It is a joy and a pleasure to have you on this call. We have hundreds of marketers joining in line. I just want to start out by saying also Happy Veterans Day for those of us veterans, those of you veterans who are on the line attending this on this day. Just want to thank you for your service and glad you could be here. Today we have a very special topic as we kind of give you an inside look into the research and the discoveries that we're making here at the Meclabs Institute Research Lab. Today we're going to be looking at discoveries concerning copy. Now, if you are in the marketing world and you're having to try to move people to say yes to an offer or product or whatever you're trying to sell, copy is going to be a strategic part of that equation. Whether it's your headline, whether it's the body copy, whether it's your call to action, it's very difficult to avoid using copy. And what we find, what I find when I interact with marketers going to organization, when we interview them, when we survey them, is that there's this kind of overall insecurity about how to write copy. And so today what we want to do is, in a short period of this 35 minutes, we want to walk you through some of the really top 5 discoveries that we've made concerning copy. And it's not going to be anything that's going to be too challenging, I think, to implement. What we try to do is pick things that you could go away and implement right away. Now listen, I say this at the beginning of most of our web clinics. I don't want this to be a monologue. I don't just want to be talking to you. We do this live because we want to have some interaction. I want to hear the questions that you are wanting us to answer. I also want to be able to ask you questions and to get your feedback. So there's a couple ways to do that. The first is using #WebClinic on Twitter. That's kind of a public way to do that. We have a team standing by monitoring that. And we can see your questions coming in through Twitter. Also, over here on my screen, I have your question and answer feature popped right up. So I can see your questions, answers coming. So I would just encourage you right now, if you haven't been on one of these web clinics before, just try that out, test it out, shoot a little test comment or response just to make sure you got your fingers on the keys, because today is going to be a back and forth interactive dialogue. Good job, Tara. That's a good test that came through. I see a lot of people responding. Hello, Helen. It's good to see you. Yes, good. All right, here we go. So today I am joined, my name is Austin McCraw. Many of you who have been on these clinics, you recognize my voice. I am the Senior Director of Content Production here at Meclabs. My job alongside with Kylie, who I'm going to introduce in a moment, is we have the vantage point of getting to see all this research, all these discoveries coming into the lab and sharing them with the audience. Now, Kylie Heyer is our curriculum design manager here. She is particularly focused on some of the curriculum that we're designing for the University of Florida. One of the things that Meclabs is doing here, and Marketing Experiments a part of that, is creating a graduate level certificate program with the University of Florida. It's very exciting. It's looking to launch in the spring of 2016, and Kylie is heavily involved in that. She's also had a lot of experience writing copy herself. She's run experiments. She's been on the front lines working with research partners to actually craft and make copy more effective. So we're going to bring her in here not only to review some of the experiments, but also, if we have enough time, we're going to try to look at your pages and optimize them live on this call. Now, I'm going to start off this clinic maybe a little bit different than we normally start off our clinics. Okay? I want to show you 2 pieces of marketing collateral. Both pieces of marketing collateral which have a significant amount of copy on them. Now I want you to look at these. I want you to ask yourself, which of these do you think is going to generate the most response? Now I'm going to give you a moment to look at it. And what I want you to do right now is, in your question and answer feature, I told you I would be asking you to use it. I want you to vote. Do you think it's going to be version A, or do you think it's going to be version B? Go ahead and let me know your response. Okay, so I see your answers coming in right now. I see A, I see B, B, A from Drake, A from Gina. I got A, B, A, B, B, A, B. Okay, good. You guys are on it. We have lots of responses coming. Good. And what it seems like is there's a healthy split between the two. It does seem like the majority of the audience is leaning towards option A, but in this case it was the copy in version B that generated the most response, the most conversions. And we're going to talk about why in a minute. We're going to talk about why in such a way that hopefully if I were to ask you this again on a similar page, you would be able to quickly identify which of these generated the greatest response. Now let me show you another one. Again, not trying to trick you here. Here are two versions, version A and version B. Look at the copy of these pages, okay? Not just the design. Don't let that trick you up. Look at the copy of these pages. And which of these do you think will generate the greatest response? Go ahead and put your vote in right now. I see a lot of people responding with A. So far, I have one B and mostly A's. If you're writing A, why? I see now several B's coming in. B, A. Okay, A is shorter. Version A. Okay, good. So listen, for most of you, you got that right. Version A generated the most response. Now that's when I put these two pages side by side with most audiences, most of them can get that. But here's what I want you to think about for a moment. Why did you say A? Now some of you said B, that's fine. Why did you say B? Well, you got to start thinking about what are you using as your intuition to choose between these two pages. When I look at A, I see a prettier page. Many of you maybe are voting based on your aesthetic preferences. Someone said, oh, it's shorter. That's potentially a best practice that's put out there. Okay? So be thinking about that, because what we want to do is we want to go deeper. We want to go through what we call experimentation, testing, understanding what actually works, and kind of doing a meta-analysis to really help us predict which one's going to generate the greatest response. I have one more for you, okay? Here it is, version A and version B. Now take a look at these two pages. Which of these do you think generates the greatest response? I see B, B, A, B, A, B, B, A, B, A, B. Okay, I see a good, healthy split here. In this case, guys, actually it was version B that generated over a 330% increase in conversions. And I'll just tell you this, I could tell by just looking at the headline of these pages which one's going to generate the greatest response. And hopefully by the end of this clinic, you can do that too. Because it all comes down to the way that we're crafting copy, all the things that I've just talked about. Now listen, I'm about to give you a kind of a tactical 5 principles for crafting copy. But before you do that, we got to understand one foundational principle when it comes to copy. If I could tell you one thing about copy in terms of that could change the way you're writing it forever, it is this. You got to get this. You have to match your copy to the thought sequences of the customer. We don't optimize web pages, guys. We don't optimize copy. We're optimizing thought sequences. It's not the pixels on the page that you're changing. It's the mindset. It's the trajectory of the thoughts that you're messing with when you change a word or when you change a pixel. You've got to see through the page and to the thought sequences. And one of the foundational principles that has been articulated really from the dawn of time about human nature is that there is a pattern in the way that our thoughts arrange themselves. Now, I don't have time to go into Aristotle. I don't have time to go into Robert McKee here, or really that, that's basically the bookends of this in some sense. I don't have the time to go into the overall explanation of this idea of narrative or this idea of story. But from the beginning of time, people have observed that story and narrative is a powerful tool for engaging the minds of people. And that's because people tend to think in the form, in the trajectory of story. You can see the principle here on the screen. It says people's thoughts arrange themselves into story. People, particularly our customers, the people you're trying to reach, they are putting themselves into your story. You are leading them to accomplish an objective that has an exposition, it has rising action, and it ultimately leads to a moment of decision, a moment of triumph called the climax. You have the falling action, you have the resolution. I could map, and we do this in some of the course material that I've talked about earlier with kind of our corporate online or offline training. We map out the overall customer sequence kind of through all these pieces, but what you got to understand is your copy has to match that story. If you try to do your climax when you're supposed to be doing your exposition, you're going to get it all wrong. If you try to go to rising action without having first attracted or grabbed their attention in the exposition, you're not going to have a customer at all. all these key pieces, and I'm going to break it down in a moment, are a factor. One of the most effective things that marketers can do to help their copy, believe it or not, it's not studying all those books on how to write persuasive or powerful copy. One of the most effective things you can do is study story, study narrative. We have just 2 book recommendations here on the screen. You have Aristotle's Poetics. That's a classic. It's one of the first pieces on story. You can read that. That may be a little bit dense, a little bit thick, or you can read a more modern explanation of that with Robert McKee. Very powerful material on story. What I want to do in this clinic, though, I don't want to get bogged down in theory. I want to take, and I was working with the team that was putting together this clinic, and as we were wrestling with this, we were trying to figure out how deep do we go, because we literally have lectures, several lectures on how to craft copy. And so what we decided is that we were going to just pull out from that kind of fundamental theory of people's thoughts arrange themselves in story. We're just going to pull out 5 discoveries, 5 key pieces that can help you do that. If you can do these 5 things, you will be mapping your customers, your copy to your customers' thoughts. Okay? So just we're going to go through this session. We're going to do it quick, and we're going to try to get to your pages as fast as possible. Now, as I'm going through this, I'm going to go quickly. So if any point you need me to slow down or stop, let me know. Use your Q&A feature. Also, if you have questions, submit them. I want to help serve you today, okay? So let me know what you're thinking. Here's the first point. And you have to just wake up to this reality for a moment, okay? We think the customer is just excited as we are at reading our marketing copy. They are not. In fact, most of the time, your customer gives you about 7 seconds. And honestly, we debated this in the writing process. It actually may be shorter than 7 seconds, okay? The precise time, we don't know, but what we do know is that it is really short. 7 seconds is generous. You have 7 seconds to arrest the attention of your prospect. Now, if you think about that, the same could be said about story. If you pick up a book or you pick up a movie, you've got to get your readers, your audience engaged right away. Oftentimes movies start out with they throw you immediately into some sort of chase scene or some sort of situation it arrests your attention and gets you engaged. Now what you have to learn to do is you got to do that in our copy. So remember that page we looked at a moment ago. Now when I show, if you're a customer and you clicked an ad or you clicked an email and you landed on this page, what here arrests your attention? Let me ask you this. What does this mean to you? What meaning can you get from just the top 3 inches of your page? Because that's really where you're going to have to get their attention. When you see this image, because obviously they're investing a lot of space and a lot of real estate in this image, what do you see? What do you think of when you see this image? We have to be ruthless, the same kind of ruthlessness that our customers bring to the page. Yeah, Michelle says, I see lockers. Mike says, boring. Absolutely. When I look at this page, I think of a gym or a locker room in some sense. These don't, but what these are, and you don't know this until you go all the way to the right-hand side of the screen, is these are servers. And let me ask you this. Okay, arresting attention. If the customer makes it past the confusing image and they try to go for meaning over here on the right hand of the page looking at dedicated servers, how attention-grabbing is the headline dedicated servers? How much value is being expressed in that? Very little. It's what we would call like a placeholder headline. It's not expressing, Drake says, I didn't even see that. Exactly, the customer doesn't. You got 7 seconds to get their attention. This is the exposition when we're talking about the story. Now look what we did. We completely changed the headline. First we got rid of that meaningless image, okay? And we gave it a headline that was crystal clear. We gave it enough space. We gave it visibility. And look what it says. Australia's most trusted and accredited business hosting company. Now there's still that stuff that has to be done, but guys, this headline is an example of a headline that totally, much more effectively arrests their attention. Let me just maybe cause some pain for a moment in saying this. what you should be doing is you might, next to the webinar, you might actually have your pages up and looking at them. If you do, well, here's what I ask. Can you even see your headline? Do you even have a headline? Is there anything there that is engaging your customer? Because a lot of us have adopted these templates that just have these images, and worse, the images move on you. They rotate in and out, and you can't even make any sense. Listen, people don't buy from websites. People buy from people. When they come to your website, they want to be greeted by a person. They want their attention. They're asking, where am I? What can I do here? And why should I do it? And so your headline has to grab their attention. In this case, doing this, and some other changes, but this was a key one, drove 188% increase in conversion. Here's another thing we see. Now let me ask you, how arresting, you might actually think this is an arresting headline, but how arresting is it? Why try Britannica online? What's funny is that's the exact question that the customer has coming to this page. Why repeat it to them? They're just going to go, yep, I agree, bye, I'm gone. You said nothing to get my attention. Now look what we do. We get intentional about expressing value in that headline. The headline is one of the most essential places to communicate the value, to get their attention. Look what it says, get unlimited access to all 32 volumes of Encyclopedia Britannica during your free trial. Do you see the difference there? Now I'm not saying there aren't other ways to craft this headline. All I want you to see here is that there's intentionality in the copy, in the headline, in the first moment of interaction to get their attention. So can you see your headline, and have you inserted strategically the most valuable piece of your offer in it? Okay, that's something you can ask. That got a 103% increase in conversion. I could say more. This is subject lines. Some of you are crafting subject line. That's a part of copy. This is a fun one, and I love testing subject lines. Look at the difference between these two headlines, or these two subject lines. Again, trying to arrest their attention up front. All we did here is we moved the most valuable piece of the content, the 50% off. We moved it from the end, what we would call a point last subject line, and moved it to the front. Make sure, even those of you who are looking at your headlines go, I got value in there, make sure it's front loaded in the actual headline and into the actual subject line, or whatever is that first moment of engagement with the customer. By making that really small shift in the order of words, we generated a 33% increase in conversion. All right, that's the first point. Hope that makes sense. It's not rocket science. You've got 7 seconds to generate a response. Here's the second one. Never present a solution before building a problem. Many of us are very, again, proud of our solutions, and we assume that the customer understands why they need this solution. One of the things that you never do in story, one of the things you especially never do in commerce, is assume that the customer understands the problem that your solution is solving. So let me have Kylie come up here. Kylie's going to walk us through a really cool experiment that illustrates this really well. So Kylie, walk us through this experiment.
All right. Hi everyone. Again, my name's Kylie. This is an experiment that we ran with the company. They had a single product. It's for blown head gaskets. So this is to help you fix any gasket issues you may have. So take a look at the control. If you want to go ahead and start, when you get onto a page again, your first question is, what is the objective? What should I do here? So if you go ahead and start with that headline, this provides me with a great solution to my problem. But some questions that may arise are listed on the page. So look at here. Does this car even have a blown head? Does my car have a blown head gasket? How do I even know if it's blown? What are the consequences of a blown head gasket? So if you take a look at our treatment.
So let me say something, because this is and actually my car right now is having car issues. And one of the things that is I see all these solutions. In fact, you go to the repair shop and they're telling you all these solutions. But one of the anxieties that I have, one of the concerns I have, is this solution actually going to solve the problem that I actually have? I see the solution, but is there actually a problem? So as you're going through this, I'm thinking, I can relate to this in some sense. So
yeah, and that page kind of looks a lot, I think why a lot of people earlier thought that page may be more successful is because we see pages like that a lot that give us a solution. But here you look at our treatment, a new headline, and if you want to get a closer look at that whole header area, you can see here that they're making an attempt to answer those questions. They're giving you, different kinds of signs and symptoms, you could say, of a blown head gasket. And they're also finishing this off with, in the bold, you can see, fixing these problems is easy and guaranteed. So here we've escalated the problem, we've addressed the problem, and we provided a solution as well.
Very good. And what's interesting, if you look at these side by side, I think that's really the only change is we went from just presenting a solution to intensifying the problem at the beginning. And what were the results?
36.1% relative difference.
Wow, in sales too. Like that's huge for a company like this. And this company had focused on one main primary product, so that was huge. And honestly, the main point you need to see in this test is that never assume the problem. Never present a solution without building the problem. I could show you test after test where we've done that. It doesn't mean you have to spend as much space as we spent there. It really depends on how aware of and how easy it is for them to grasp, how relevant is the problem to them. Really will dictate how much space you actually need for expressing that problem itself. So, but the principle there is don't ever present a solution without presenting a problem. Point 3. And this is something that we have said for a very long time, and our tests still indicate that the goal of your copy is clarity. Clarity trumps persuasion. When you have a value proposition, when you actually have an offer that's valuable to the marketplace, you don't have to feel like you've got to be persuasive or clever or use these power words to actually generate a response. Oftentimes, it's just get clear about the value, and if it's genuinely valuable, the customer will respond. And so let me show you an experiment here for a moment. Okay, this is a good experiment for many reasons. Number one, the headline is unclear. All right, again, it's a placeholder headline, and it's using company logic, Sermo's social media insights. What does that mean? I mean, that's like something that we said inside. It doesn't really tell me what I get. All right, one of the things that you should see on this in terms of thinking about the way you lay out and structure the form of your copy itself, this page is using a classic design template. And you've got that header up top that rotates. You've got that column on the left-hand side that's got information. You've got the middle column. You've got the right-hand column. This is a classic design. In fact, I bet many of your pages right now might even look like this page. I don't know where we got this template from. I'm not sure why it has become so popular, but you know what this is like? This is like walking into a room, or let's say a store. You walk into a store, you're maybe interested in purchasing from them, and all of a sudden, 4 different people start talking to you at the same time. When that's going on, you can't have any, it's really hard to get clarity. And then when those 4 people are saying things that aren't actually valuable, they're using company logic, it becomes really confusing. So just by simply changing the layout of that, getting clear about the value in the headline, and even in the copy, you might even look at this page and go, I don't really like that page. That's fine, okay? Your goal isn't necessarily to create likable pages. The goal is to create pages that clearly express value. In this case, by making this change, you can see it's a pretty radical change. It generated a 103% increase in conversion. You can see the results there. Now, we looked at this earlier, but look at this headline. Is this headline clear? If all you had was this headline, could you understand what they were even selling? You can't be too careful. What do you think they're selling? I know we saw it earlier. Yeah, careful about what, says Mike. Alicia says no. Lots of question marks from Drake. Listen, the reason why that headline is bad is because they're trying to be clever. The goal is not cleverness. The goal is clarity. Look at this headline. It's not a headline that's going to win awards, but it's a headline that's going to generate significant results. So remember, clarity trumps persuasion. Clarity trumps persuasion. Get clear about your value and just express it on your webpage. Here's another one for you copywriters who have tuned in. Point 4, we discovered you've got to be ruthlessly unsentimental about your own copy. Okay? Sometimes we can become way too attached with an approach, or we want to say everything about our product. Let me show you we have a lot of experience in this direction, but here's one that we played with the length of copy across several treatments, okay? And this is a company offering professional financial advice for investors to consumers. And here is the control. All right, you see this long page. Many of you copywriters are salivating. Oh man, I wish I could actually get to the room to write that much copy to explain my product and my offer. Some of you are going, actually Michael says, holy long paragraphs. Absolutely. So we wanted to test it. Now, guys, I've seen pages like this perform well, but we created a treatment that slightly reduced that. Then we created a treatment that reduced it even further. And then we went all the way down to as far reduced as we possibly could get it. And here's the conversion trends, guys. Here's the correlation. What we saw here is as the conversion, or as the page length decreases, the conversion increases. So one of the things you need to know is length necessarily produces time and difficulty and something we call friction in our courses. And so the longer the page is, the more friction there is. So you want to make sure you have just enough copy. Okay, now I can show you more tests. You can see the overall results here. Here's another one, generated a 43% increase in conversion. Another one, again, just shortening copy. But that raises a question. Does short copy always outperform long copy? The answer to that is no. I hinted at that earlier, but the answer is no. Here's a page that most of us would look at and go, okay, that's not a bad page. Uses some standard best practices in the industry. There's so many things wrong with this page. I can't even, we've talked about it on previous clinics, but here's a page that is short copy. It gets to the point really fast. We tested a pretty, almost 3 times the length of that page against it. You can see the whole page here. I'll just show you real quickly. You can see them side by side, the difference in length. It's literally, whenever you shrink them together, look at them side by side, it's literally about 3 times the length. This page, this long copy page, generated 220% increase in conversion. Now we have a clinic and more material on when to use short copy versus long copy. The point I want you to get here's the main point. You just need enough copy to explain your product and to get its value across. You don't need everything you can possibly say. And you have to approach your copy with a little bit of a ruthlessness. Almost like the delete button is your friend as a copywriter. Don't be afraid to delete things. Okay? Now where you have more complicated or high anxiety or high commitment products, like in this case that product I just showed you was a medical facility where you could send relatives to go get treatment. Obviously there's high commitment, high anxiety, high cost. It needed long copy. But if you're doing a free trial or just a simple product, oftentimes short copy works better. All right, we're on the final thing. If you have those 4, that's good, but this 5th one I like because even if you didn't pay attention to those other 4, I have seen this 5th principle generate significant results. Your asks must align with the expectations. One of the most common places that we fail as marketers is in our call to action. It's in that, again, connecting it to story, it's in that moment of decision, it's in that climax when we've done all this work to get their attention, to build momentum and energy around the product. And then, sometimes we don't even have a call to action. Sometimes we have multiple calls to action, but more often than not, we are asking them for way too much. So look at this example. This is an example of, and I'm going to get Kylie come on here and walk us through this example. So this is an experiment. This is with a social network built specifically for verified U.S. physicians. What was the goal or the focus of this experiment?
The goal was to increase the number of leads from an email list that they had.
Okay.
So this is an email test.
Okay.
So like I said before, we spent all this time, and especially in this control, you see they spend a lot of time trying to build up anticipation, generate interest about your product, and then we finish it with a CTA that says get started. Yes. So this can be a high ask. It's kind of asking a lot, especially coming from an email. Yeah,
and I would say this, with emails, and this is something we've seen in our experimentation, the goal of an email is to get a click. Okay. Mm-hmm. Honestly, the email falls in the kind of that exposition zone in terms of the overall story where you're getting their attention. They're not quite ready. Very rarely do we see people ready to buy or commit in the form of email. Most of the time they're just looking for more information.
Correct.
So this ask is completely, how would we say, it's completely
unexpected.
Off. It's unexpected and it's not connected with the thoughts of the customer. So what did you guys do?
Well, what we did is we ran a test with just a new CTA. There's a couple other small changes, but essentially, again, we were building up anticipation. Our CTA is see how this product works. So what's blocked off there is the company name or the product. So see how it works, right? That's a lot more interesting. It's a lot less of an ask. It's something that's a little bit more expected coming from an email.
Yeah, get started implies I'm going to have, I'm committing.
Right.
See how it works it's kind of like a learn more or, and so the commitment there is very low. There were some other things that went on this page, but look at the overall result, 104% increase in conversion.
Huge.
Yep. Now stay up here with me, Kylie, because we're going to get to live ops soon. But audience, just look at some of these buttons here side by side. Get started now to estimate my monthly payment. Do you see the difference between the expectations for these buttons? Now listen, if you're at the climax point and it is the moment to buy, it's okay to say buy now. It's okay to communicate to them, to make a decision to buy. But you have to make sure that your call to action actually matches the moment in the conversation. Mm-hmm. Here's another one. And I'm not going to go into this one, but you can see try reg line versus get free access. Okay, there's even ways to articulate your calls to action in that moment of decision in a way that it creates more expectation around the value than necessarily what they're going to have to do. We've done many clinics in the past on calls to action. Listen, all that research is free online at marketingexperiments.com. I think it's over $20 million worth of research. They're free for you to access. So just go in there, search calls to action, search headlines, search some of the stuff we talked about, and you can see many more examples of this kind of thing. But here's what I wanted to provide you with, okay? This is a checklist, all right? Pull up your pages right now and just ask yourself about your copy, okay? Does your copy immediately arrest the attention of the prospect? Am I sufficiently building the problem before presenting the solution? Does my copy clearly express the value of my offer? Am I using the proper amount of copy relative to the magnitude of my ask? And does my call to action align with the expectations of my prospect? This is a checklist that you can do a screen grab of this. We're also going to send these slides to you in a follow-up email. You'll be able to get them online in about a week. So you can get this. If you want to take a screenshot now, you can. But this is a tried and true checklist for evaluating the effectiveness of your copy. Now, a couple things, we're going to shift into trying to apply that checklist to actual pages right now. But before I do that, I just want to make you aware of some opportunities here. I mentioned the training before, not really trying to sell it here, just trying to make you aware of the resource. If you yourself or you have a team that you want to train on some of this stuff, we go much deeper in some of the optimization practices. We have several sessions on copywriting, so you can find out more information about that there. One thing I would ask for you before we get to live optimization pages, before we look at pages submitted by audiences, or the audience that we're dealing with right now, we're constantly trying to direct and refine our research. Okay, so one of the focuses that we are going into 2016 that we're trying to really go into this year with is around e-commerce. I know not everyone on the call is an e-commerce company, but if you are, what I would ask you is, what are some of the most pressing e-commerce related questions that you have? Again, we're forming the agenda of our research going into next year around e-commerce, and we would like to hear from you. You can do it in three ways. And one, you can just shoot it right in the comments. So as we're going through live optimization, if you just want to put down your most pressing e-commerce question, you can do it right there. You could also just email it directly to webclinics@meclabs.com, or when you get done with this clinic, there'll be a post-webinar survey. Again, help us. We're trying to create a community of marketers together, just eager to discover what works. So if you have a pressing question or something you want us to test in e-commerce, let us know. All right. Now, what most of us, or what many of us have been waiting for, is the live application of the principles we're talking about. So Kylie's up here with me. We're going to be looking at a page, this is kind of here. Let me go to the page. I'll go back to that slide in a minute, Ken. Be fine. Live optimization of the Mortgage Center. So this is a company. The name of this organization, do we know? Or the person who submitted this?
I believe it was Michelle.
Michelle. Okay, so Michelle submitted this page to us. Michelle, are you in the audience? If you are, just let us know with your Q&A there. But look at this page, audience, for a moment. I want to see if we can begin cashing in some of the things we talked about in this clinic. So you have that checklist, okay? You have that checklist in front of you maybe, if you screen grabbed it. If not, you can remember some of the things we talked about. What are some things right now that you could recommend to Michelle to make her copy more effective? So Mike says, better deal on what? Betsy says, this assumes the problem. Good, you are so right, Betsy. Good call. Do they even need a better deal? That's what Betsy's saying. That's really good stuff. So Kylie, so good comments coming in. Get rid of the apply now at the top. Have you done any experiment? Okay, so that's one of the e-commerce. So Kylie, when you look at this page, If you were to give Michelle just like maybe one or two things that she could at least test, what would you say?
Well, similar to like some of the people who are commenting, there is a lack of clarity on the page, particularly with the headline if we're just focusing on copy, especially the copy that's grabbing your attention when you first get on the page. So right now it says relax and let us get you the better deal. So that does not answer the questions that I have when I arrive on this page, which is what is the objective, what is expected of me. I see an apply now CTA, but that's a little bit demanding. That's not exactly what I'm expecting at this point.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And there's so many things that I want to say about this page, Michelle, and I don't want to be too harsh, but just looking at the headline, if I had nothing else on this page and the headline was simply relax and let us get you a better deal, I'm getting cues from the AV team that we're out of time. That's okay. If you need to go, that's fine. This will be recorded. You can watch it later. For those who want to stick around, we're gonna give Michelle some valuable feedback on this page. But here's the point: that headline, apart from anything else on this page, means nothing. It's an attempt to be clarity, or clever, and it's sacrificing clarity. The word deal is probably one of the worst words that you can use. What do you think of when you hear the word deal? Just close your eyes for a moment and think, deal. What comes into your mind? It's not a positive, Mike says, drug deal. I think of, not a drug deal, I think of more of like a salesy used car, good. Some of that kind of hypey, so it's really ineffective, all right? And then, not to say anything about the worthless image that's taken up most of the space and means absolutely nothing to the customer. That image, that headline and that image could be on any web page, really on the web, the internet.
Yeah, the only benefit I really see of the image is that the eyes are pointed towards the second CTA on the form field on the page. That's about the best that it's doing. It's just directing the customers towards another part of the page, which is actually ultimately
I didn't even notice that because it's kind of like blurred out. You almost like the white on white. It's hard to even see that. And if that's your main call to action, it's way out of the main iPath. What you see is that apply now, and after that amazing attention-grabbing headline, you're asking me to apply now. Talk about a disconnect in the expectations.
That apply now takes you to a page that looks just like that form that's also in the header. And so you're losing a really valuable opportunity, Michelle, to kind of express why visitors should click through and why, if they're not ready to apply at this step, why should they click through and be ready to apply on the next step if you aren't providing any more value.
You know, Michelle, I know we're being harsh, and I would just give you one recommendation here around copy is around this headline, okay? You actually have some valuable copy on this page. You are building a case for being able to get them access to lower cost mortgage options, okay? So if you could start trying to quantify that in your headline, like how much lower, all right? How much more effective are you at getting them deals? You actually get into that. We have Canada's leading lenders compete for your mortgage. I mean, that itself would be a better headline, but you can get even more specific than that. Talk about how you, like your process for doing that. Explain that. These images that you have on the left don't make sense without some of that stuff. They're definitely not ready to apply after that headline. So you probably want to move that down in the thought sequence, or maybe just, maybe it's a learn more, or maybe it's a, see rates available, something like that, which has less commitment, might drive more response. So just, within the short time that we had, that would be the feedback that we would give you on this page. If you reach out to us, there's also lots of comments coming in from the audience. We will, what we can do is we'll copy those comments and send them to you if you reach out to us in an email, webclinics@marketingexperience.com. Ken himself will personally make sure, won't you, Ken? That's good. All right, so guys, that's all the time we have. I'm going back to this. If you want to have your page reviewed just like we reviewed Michelle's, what we do is we often run out of time for that on these clinics, so we've created this separate special webinar just dedicated to optimizing pages. If you want your page reviewed, you can go to the link on the screen right there, meclabs.com/liveop, and you could submit your page for review. We'll be doing that, I believe, next Tuesday. All right, so Tuesday, tune into that. If you want your page submitted, go to that form. Besides that, we are done. I just want to say a couple things. First, if you've taken time out of your schedule on this day, thank you so much. If you found this material valuable, it was no charge, no free. The only thing we ask is just tell someone, share it with a friend, let them know. So we're trying to build this community of marketers that are just interested in discovering what really works. After the clinic, you'll get a post-clinic survey where you'll get to give us feedback. We love receiving your feedback. You can leave it there. Or if before you leave, you want to leave it in the comment section, I'm going to be here reading them. Come in, give us feedback. What did you like? What would you like to see in the future? We always love hearing from you. With that, thank you for your time. Thank you, Kylie. Thank you, everyone on the team that's helped out with that. Ken, Luke, Tara, Brent, Dennis, everyone who's involved. Regina, thank you. A lot goes into making these clinics happen, and we appreciate your trust in attending them. We'll see you here next month.